Hey church family, it's Pastor Terry here. This is Tuesday Talks. This is normally kind of Craig's spot, but he's on vacation right now, and so he and I discussed in advance that I'd maybe take up one or two of the segments that some of the guys put up each week, and we're just trying to stay in touch with you as a church family. And I think one of the things I've particularly enjoyed about what Craig has done is just you get a little bit of insight, and some of them at least, into who he is behind the scenes. And so I thought I would do something like that this afternoon, and invite you into my garage. That's a I don't know, it's a scary thing for some of us I don't know if it's just men, but it can be kind of a scary thing to say, hey, come into my garage, because it's a little bit like your house. Like when somebody shows up uninvited or unannounced, it's never as tidy as you want it to be. It's never as organized as you wish it to be. Hey, Amal, nice to see you. Thanks, man, for dropping in. The thing about your garage, though, is that it also shows something about who you actually are. So here we go, at great risk to my personal integrity, and please don't judge me, because nothing's ever as organized or as tidy as you wish it could be. And I think the other thing that's always at risk is somebody says, hey, you got too much stuff, or somebody else says, oh, hey, he doesn't have this or that. I got a lot of stuff. Holy smokes, it accumulates. I'm a pack rat. There are 6 in our family who live in our home, and it's not a large home, and so the garage becomes storage space for everything. And so there's storage totes up in the rafters, and storage totes up there, and like every place that I could find a nook or a cranny to put stuff, hang the bikes here. But what I wanted to actually kind of talk about today is just the idea that there are people in our lives who have shaped us to who we are today. And it's really God's grace that has enabled that to happen. The writer of Proverbs says, a man plans his course, but the Lord directs his feet. And so part of the point of this would just be to invite you to kind of reflect on who has shaped you, what are the voices that have spoken into your life and helped form who you are today in a constructive and a positive way, or maybe they're voices that you need to deny, you need to walk away from them because they're actually holding you back. They've shaped you in some unhelpful, unfortunate ways. But I've got some good stories that I wanted to talk to you about. Let me just see here. I think maybe I'll pull my toolbox out. This has got, let's see if I can do this without breaking something. This has kind of all my automotive tools and a few other things in here, but I wanted to pull out find the right spot, a toolbox. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. There it is. So here we go. Here's a ratchet set. I think this is probably the first tool I ever bought. When I was a teenager, I worked for a farmer, a local farmer, dairy farmer, a cash crop farmer, and I remember going to a farming event with them down in Toronto. And I bought this at that event and thought it was a great deal. And I had a sense that I was making a lifetime investment. That a ratchet set was something that was going to be useful to me the rest of my life. And it was working for that farmer that I came to appreciate the good tools, the right tool for the right job. That was one of the things that John Hambley liked to say. And I would say that's just something that I've picked up over the years. It's ideal. Sometimes you have to make do with what you got. But if you can manage it, the right tool for the right job is a really valuable thing. That kind of reminds me, another guy that I worked for high school into college was a carpenter, a custom builder. And he had several axioms that I learned from. His name was Ron Simpson, and love Ron. He's gone to be with the Lord now. But one of the things that he said was, everything has its place and every place has its thing. And it was just kind of this organizing principle. It would show up when we would be loading the pickup truck at the end of the day. And he had a work box in the back of the pickup truck, and everything went into it. And everything had a very specific place that it would go. The skill saw went here, the toolbox went there. And if you put everything in the right place, it was easy to keep it organized and sorted. And when you looked in the box, you would know, oops, something's missing. The miter saw is missing, the chop saw is missing. And so you would know that there was something that was left on the job site, and you'd go back for it. So it was a stewardship principle, taking care of the things that you've got, having, being mindful of where they are. It was an organizing principle. It was a speed principle too. You know, if everything goes back to where it's supposed to be, it'll be where it's supposed to be. It gets there quickly, but then it's going to be there the next time that you want or need it as well. And yeah, so there's a few things like that. I've got down here, sorry for the garbage in the background there, but I've got a couple of totes here, and this is an automotive tote with fluids and stuff in it. This one over here is a tote with paint supplies in it. I've ended up, one of the things I did for that custom builder, eventually I worked I think for about 8 years or so, through high school and college and kind of my early career years. But one of the things that I did was paint houses. And so I've ended up with some skills that have been super helpful throughout my lifetime. And so again, kind of coming back to that proverb, a man plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. And we can say, man, God has been in these steps, even the difficult ones, even the jobs that didn't seem to be so glamorous or didn't seem to be so helpful. God was present in those as well. As I point out some of these tools that I've accumulated over the years, so carpentry is one of the things that I do have a few skills in, and so I've got a DeWalt toolbox here with a bunch of my carpentry tools in it. Let's see what's in there right now. I didn't even open this up in advance. But, it's got some wrecking bars. If you're a carpenter, then you understand you need a wrecking bar. This hammer has seen better days, but it's a 22 ounce Estwing, which is kind of a framing hammer. It's a heavy hammer. If you're just a weekend warrior, I haven't used this in years. That's part of the reason it's rusty. When you're just a weekend warrior and not doing it all the time, it's a little heavy. You know, it's a little heavy to swing that hammer, and your forearm muscles need to grow to it. It kind of reminds me of some of the quality tools that God's allowed me to accumulate over the years. And that was this axiom, buy quality, cry once. So that was a friend named Dwayne Plishka. He was actually an audio engineer, and we worked together in Edmonton for all the years that I was there, 7 years I think it was. And yeah, buy quality, cry once. See, the reality is quality tools, quality equipment often costs a little more money. But it usually lasts much better. You know, you skimp here or there, and you end up having to redo something, rebuy something. So there's some of these kind of principles and axioms that have shaped who I am, and I'm just wondering, you know, what would be some of the things that maybe have shaped who you are. Jesus told a parable in Luke chapter 12 about a wealthy man who one day said, "Look, I've got all this wealth and I've got more grain than I know what to do with." So he said, "I'm going to tear down my barns, and I'm going to make room for greater wealth." And the reality was, though, according to the parable that Jesus told in Luke chapter, was that the man had not taken care of matters of his soul. And that night he went to meet his maker. And so God has been present in all of these steps of your lives, all of these maybe axioms that you hold to and help you find your way. And he is inviting you to steward those things in such a way that you are paying attention to God. You're paying attention to your soul. It's one thing to accumulate stuff, and I've shown you some of my stuff, and maybe I've got too much stuff, although most of them have been pretty strategic purchases. A quality drill that lasts. Buy quality, cry once. Tools that become an investment for a lifetime. You know, when I was a teenager, I buy a ratchet set, and it's still in my toolkit, and it's all the parts and pieces are there. Which reminds me then of, so that was Mr. Hambley, but then, you know, Ron Simpson. Every place has its thing, and everything has its place. This axiom of just taking care of the things that we've got. They're going to shape us, but if we don't take care of the spiritual conversation that needs to be had in our lives, we're going to get to the end of our days, and we are going to regret everything, like everything. No matter what you've accumulated, no matter what great experiences you've had, no matter whether you've been enormously wealthy or just had enough to get by on, you're going to regret having not had the spiritual conversations that are fundamental and critical to your eternal well-being. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." The day will come when you and I will breathe our last breath, and we will stand before Almighty God, and we will give an account for our lives. What have we done with it? How have we stewarded the things that He's entrusted to us? And most importantly, how have we stewarded our soul? Don't be like that foolish farmer who had not paid attention to that most important thing, Luke chapter 12, and went to meet his Maker unprepared. I want you to meet your Maker. I want to meet my Maker prepared. And so we're going to pay attention to these things, knowing that in all of these things, God is at work. Planning, we think we're making our plans, but He is guiding our steps. And if we will pay attention to those steps, we will see that He's inviting us to follow Him in the midst of those steps. Tuesday Talks with Terry rather than Craig. But I appreciate those. Sharon, nice to see you. Eddie, it's great to see you there as well. Great to have you join me here today in my garage. Yeah, it's a mess. And much of our lives are lived in the mess. And God is teaching us some good things even in the midst of all of that. I pray that you encounter Him today in wonderful ways. Bless you, and bye for now.